I hope so, seen the title of our session today, which is also displayed again on the wall here. It is supporting companies in the implementation of mandatory human rights and environmental due diligence, showcasing responsible business hubs in Asian pilot countries. Now, I am very well aware that that might be a rather lengthy title, so let me allow all of you to give you a quick introduction into what we have planned for this session and what the outline of the session is. Before doing so, I would like to take the time, though, to quickly introduce myself so you know who is guiding you through today's session. So my name is Lea Belitz, and I am working for GIZ in Cambodia, mostly on a global project called Initiative for Global Solidarity. I will get back into a bit of what that project is, what we do there, and as I said, also what we have planned for this session in a bit. But first, it would maybe be great if we also have a bit of an idea as to who is listening in. So it would be great if all of you could just very quickly, given the time, maybe state your name and the organization, company, whatever you're working for. So we and the panelists have a bit of an idea who is listening today. Maybe, sir, we can start from this side and then just go around. Just state your name quickly and the organization you're working for. Thank you.
My name is Mohammad Monir Islam. I'm additional secretary working at the Prime Minister's Office of Bangladesh.
Mrs. Tawabasum Rahman, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Commerce in Bangladesh.
Anwarul Haq, I work for UNDP Bangladesh.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mohammad Tawhid Khan, working as a Deputy Director at the National Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh.
Good afternoon. My name is Farhana Said. I am the Deputy Director of National Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Bogart. I work at the Remedy Project, which is an NGO based in Hong Kong.
Hi, my name is Nikita. I'm from Indonesia. I'm working in one of the manufacturing companies.
My name is JC Kim. I'm working for Advocates for Public Interest Law based in Korea.
Hi, my name is Ahma. I'm from Mongolia and I'm in the cashmere business.
Adrian from North-South Initiative, helping migrant workers in the supply chains.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cambodia researcher for Business and Human Rights Resource Center.
Hello, I'm Roy Umetz. I'm a practicing lawyer in Japan and I'm a member of the Business and Human Rights Lawyers Network.
Hi, everyone. My name is Akihiro Ueda from JSA, Japan.
Hi, I'm Tanita Disyabud. I'm from Dissent Solutions, the grievance mechanism platform.
A very good afternoon. My name is Farul Nizam. I'm from FGV Holdings Malaysia.
Hello, this is Sarah Fung, and I'm here on behalf of the German Center for Human Rights and Sports.
Hi, my name is Kish Parala. I'm from Washington and Lee University in the United States. I'm a law professor.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Torsten Metz. I'm working also with GIZ with the Initiative for Global Solidarity.
Good afternoon. I'm Rizwana. I work for a non-profit in Bangladesh called Bangladesh Environmental Lawyers Association.
Hi, my name is Zaya. I'm from International Women's Federation of Commerce and Industry from the Mongolia office. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Moshumi Margaret Jian. I'm also part of the Initiative for Global Solidarity project with the same team. Good to see you all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Orwan. I'm working for SIDA, Swedish International Development Agency. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, my name is Izzy Tuck. I'm a student at UNC Chapel Hill here with Keenan Foundation Asia.
Hi, I'm Ali Jalola. I'm also a student at UNC Chapel Hill, and I'm also working with Keenan Foundation Asia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nora. I'm also a third-year student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I'm working with the Keenan Foundation of Asia.
Hi, my name is Adat Mehta. I'm also a student at the University of North Carolina, and I'm working with Keenan Foundation Asia.
Great. thanks a lot to all of you. That was super interesting to see all the different countries, backgrounds, and jobs we're working in, and that we are all interested in this topic. Maybe also, so you're not muted the whole time, just very quickly, although I will give a detailed introduction in a bit, just name and organization.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah from the Responsible Business Hub Cambodia at Eurocham.
My name is Sheikh H. Mustafiz. I'm from Bangladesh Garment Exporter and Manufacturer Association in Bangladesh.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Shami Mehsan from Bangladesh Knitwear Association.
Hi, everybody. Warm welcome also from my side. My name is Reinhard Juncker. I'm working with BMZ, the German Ministry for Development Cooperation, and steering also this GIZ program here that is supposed to support companies, but all other stakeholders too, in implementing due diligence.
Great. That was talking of that project. So you have an idea, I named it already, and it has, you've also heard it from others, the Initiative for Global Solidarity. As I said, this is a project, or as Reinhard Juncker also just said, commissioned by the BMZ, so by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. And it was commissioned in light of the increasing mandatory human rights and environmental due diligence legislation, for example, the German Supply Chain Act, but also the European Due Diligence Directive. And the idea of the project, really the key idea behind it, is to promote the implementation of human rights and environmental due diligence throughout global supply chains. And that both on a global level, but also on a local level, so in the producing countries themselves. And that is especially done so through shared responsibilities between, on the one hand, the global buyers and the local manufacturers in said producing countries. Here in the region, in Asia, we're at the moment especially present in Bangladesh, in Cambodia, and in Vietnam, and in those countries, especially in the apparel sector. We all know, and we've heard that also throughout the last sessions, that of course these kinds of legislations are directly impacting mainly the companies in, for example, Europe or Germany. But we've also heard, and everyone has voiced that in one way or another, it is expected that demands and also will trickle down in one way or another through the supply chains to suppliers, for example, here in Asia. And that is why we want to strengthen the capacities of the suppliers here in the producing countries and really prepare them for the changes that are about to come. And therefore, one main pillar of our work here in the countries is to establish supplier support structures. And that is mainly done through said responsible business hubs. So although we will really have a deep dive of what these hubs are, just so you get a main idea in a nutshell, these hubs are local help desks in the producing countries. And they really provide tailor-made, free of charge information, awareness, and advisory services that are mainly made for the producers in the producing countries. But of course, also, for example, for associations, service providers, and so on, they can also approach the hub. And they are really also creating a network among the stakeholders in the countries. Besides that network in the countries, we also create, given that we are a global project, a global network of these hubs aimed at really creating a common understanding of due diligence in the countries and a harmonization of measures. And of course, this global network also allows us to reproduce and replicate that, that idea of help desk in further countries. The hubs are actually hosted by strong local partners, 3 of which we have present here today. I will introduce you to them in a bit in more detail and then kick off the discussion with them. Before doing so, I would like to hand the word over to Mr. Juncker, though, to kind of give us an introduction as to where this project is coming from. So more so get a bit more detail background on the HREDD legislation in Germany, in Europe, and then also how this is connected to the Responsible Business Hub network. So first off, a quick introduction again of Mr. Juncker. Mr. Juncker, as he said before, represents the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, or short BMZ, and he has started his service there 3 years ago. He's now acting head of the unit Sustainable Transition of Global Supply Chains. And it was very timely when he started, because basically he started when the new German Supply Chain Due Diligence Act, which came into effect this year, was initiated and or discussed and then initiated. Now he took over the coordination of the BMZ support measures for the implementation of the legal requirements and steers the relevant instruments, amongst which also the project Initiative for Global Solidarity. So thank you very much for being here, and the floor is yours.
Many thanks. Many thanks to all of you for coming here. I was asked to set the frame, let's say, for the further presentations by explaining a little bit where we come from and what are the legal circumstances, so to speak. Yeah, I'm in a good position because I started my job when we started also to negotiate the law. I participated directly in those negotiations. But then when we have concluded the German national law, I skipped. I didn't jump on the European level to negotiate there, but I focused more on coordinating our support measures to all stakeholders. As I stressed already before, this is very important. We see that there's an urgent need that development cooperation supports implementation on the ground so that we don't have negative effects, but that we can really roll out the positive effects of mandatory due diligence legislation in Europe so that it really has an effect on the ground. Yeah, I start by presenting some details of our legislation. I can't switch to the next page. I will ask you to do so if possible. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, you already are aware of the fact that in Europe we are now moving forward in terms of mandatory due diligence legislation. In Germany, we already have our national law that was put in effect now at the beginning of this year, and EU legislation is to come. I will elaborate a little bit on the German law, but be aware that the European legislation is more or less the same in the sense of content of the law. And I will go into the details of EU legislation later on. What is very important, the German law now applies to companies with more than 3,000 employees. This threshold will be lowered down next year to companies with more than 1,000 employees, so that we have a smooth phasing in, let's say, because we consider that big companies are able to cope with the new obligations. Smaller companies need a little bit more time. And when European legislation comes into force, probably this threshold will even lowered further down. I will come back to this later on. What is very important to stress in the beginning is that we basically implement the UN guiding principles and the OECD guidelines. We do not invent any new social standards or other obligations. We are just introducing, making mandatory international standards as a UN guiding principles. And we are not referring to any German law book in terms of social rights, but we are referring to international conventions, ILO conventions, to international agreed human rights and so on. So this is no German single way, but we are just implementing correctly what has been already agreed on international level. And this is why our legislation will be very much in line with what comes up now from the European level, because they are also referring to the international standards and guidelines. What is new now in Germany is that due diligence doesn't only become mandatory, but if you do not comply, then you will also be sanctioned. That is very important. This gives, of course, a new incentive for companies to really implement due diligence. We have a national authority. It's called the BAFA. It's a Federal Office for Economics and Export Control. They're having now a big unit from 60 people up to 100 next year, who are going to control the reports that our German companies are sending in. And if they realize that companies do not comply, they are also able to sanction those companies. Administrative fees of up to 2% of annual global turnover, and furthermore, the exclusion from public procurement, which should become a very important incentive for companies to really implement a due diligence. What is also important, and I say this towards those who are advocating for the right holders and NGOs have also the possibility now to give a complaint to this national authority, the BAFA, so that BAFA is forced to really check those cases and see if our companies are implementing correctly due diligence obligations. And the first complaints have just come in April. One of the first cases is one case from Bangladesh. Now BAFA is going to check this. And I always say they have sort of the capacities of a criminal police. They are allowed to investigate in the companies. They can ask for the files and so on, so that they can really go into the details and see if our companies have met the expectation, if it did it reported correctly, and so on. So what is, of course, interesting now for you is in how far is there a spillover or cascade effect also for companies here in Asia. First of all, our law only applies to our German companies. And for those international companies, you have got a siege in Germany and have, as I said, are over this threshold of the employees. But and only they will be checked and able to be sanctioned, not their suppliers. But of course, there is this trickle-down effect to the suppliers from German companies and respectively then also from other European companies. Our companies are coming up to your companies now, asking to help to create transparency in the global supply chain, provide information on the human rights situation in the factories, and they will also require companies to meet the standards themselves somehow. Of course, many companies and producing countries are not yet aware of all the requirements and obligations that come with the UN guiding principles. And they do not have yet a proper risk assessment system and a systematic data collection, monitoring, and reporting, which is important so that they can cooperate with our buyers from Germany and Europe. And this is something where we need to cooperate furthermore. So next slide, please. And this is why, as already mentioned, we as BMZ, the Development Cooperation Ministry from Germany, we have commissioned the GIZ to set up a network of support measures to help implementing due diligence in partner countries. On the one hand side, of course, to avoid that our German companies do cut and run. We invested a lot so that our companies also engage in partner countries to create jobs there, to do training, to create taxes and so on. We don't want them to get out of risky markets. So we would like to support them so that they can stay in those markets. And on the other hand side, of course, we don't want that companies from partner countries get excluded from supply chains because they can't meet the expectation that our German companies are now confronting them with. Altogether, we have around about 60 different measures with a total volume of around about 500 million euros for all the stakeholders in the supply chains. That starts with support for the implementation of NAPs in partner countries, support rather addressed to governments. But we also have, for example, support for multi-stakeholder initiatives so that they can set up something sector-wide. And it goes to informations for right holders so that they know how to get access to the new access to right in Europe now. The flagship of this GIZ program that we're talking about here is the Responsible Business Hub. It's basically a local help desk that we set up in partner countries. So that we can offer tailor-made information, awareness campaigns, and advisory services for the companies in our partner countries. It is a gateway for local businesses so that they can inform themselves and empower themselves also when our companies are coming up now towards them and then asking to implement all the obligations that come with our legislation. For example, because you're here, they are also working on standard clauses for the contracts that is putting our companies from partner countries into a good position to negotiate with our German companies so that they can really meet on a level playing field and really set up also in contractual terms a due diligence system with shared responsibility. This is a practical example that we also promote via those help desks. What is very important to say is that these are not state-run help desks, but we are convinced that it's best to implement those help desks in local business associations because they know best the clients, let's say, of this help desk, the companies. And they have already the network, they've got the trust and so on to inform their companies best. And of course, and we say that all the time, we are organizing this as a sort of a network so that we can also exchange best practices, for example, and see what works best in the different countries. And this network is putting together all those different help desks that we try to set up around the world. Next slide, please. This help desk model is a replicable one. We've got some sort of a starter kit in GIZ headquarters, so to speak, a toolbox with different services that we can offer to those business associations that want to set up such a help desk that goes from standardized service offerings and communication tools to standardized, I call it recipes for capacity building in the hosting organizations, job descriptions, or ideas how to organize a workload management, and for example, standard contracts, how to contract people who are going to set up the help desk and so on. And again, best practice exchange. Second, this is a standard instrument tool, let's say, but of course we always want to adapt it to the local needs and the local context. So there's always a dialogue taking place so that we can have a tailor-made offer for the specific country and the specific organizations to ensure that this service is well fitted and in this term also long-term sustainable. Third, once the help desk is set up, and we are also offering, let's call it a support, a follow-up support. So you can provide international experts for events. We are helping also to network with international organizations that are on the ground, for example. And we are facilitating common learning. So, for example, I just learned that in September, all the guys who are already setting up help desk will meet in Berlin to have an exchange with our German help desk that we already have put in place 5 years ago when due diligence was still on a voluntary basis. But they have learned a lot of how to communicate due diligence, UN guiding principles, and so on. And so the local help desk can also profit from this. Yeah, where do we already have such help desks in place? The first one, I think, was set up in Vietnam. The second one in Cambodia. Next one is Bangladesh, and that's also the reason why I'm here, because on Sunday we are going to open the help desk in Bangladesh. We also have one already in Serbia. And the next 3 ones are just about to be concluded in Turkey, in Tunisia, and in Mexico. That's already a global network where we can have a global exchange on best practices and so on. For you, also interesting is who are our local partners for the implementation. In Vietnam, it's VCCI. In Cambodia, it's the European Chamber of Commerce. In Serbia, it's the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And now our next partners are going to be our partners from Bangladesh, BGMEA and BKMEA. Looking to see you again on Sunday when we have got our opening ceremony in Dhaka. Yeah, next slide here just to illustrate a little bit how this looks like. One photo is from the opening ceremony in Cambodia and the right one from the one in Vietnam. Yeah, just to demonstrate here that we are moving forward, and sometimes it's even fun to work together, and sometimes there are things to celebrate. This was my introduction. We're going to have now many more information from the practitioners, but if you're interested or if you want to have more information on the setup, then of course, please contact your colleagues from the GIZ on the ground, or later on via mail. I'm sure that they are able to give you more information and to start a dialogue if interested. Many thanks.
Great, thanks to you. Thank you very much for setting the scene and for giving this brief but still good overview of what the German Supply Chain Act will entail, and also how we try to move on there with the Responsible Business Hub network. Also, thank you for the theory behind it. And it was also already a great transition that now we can take a look at how this looks like in practice. Because as I said, and as you can also see there, we are lucky enough to have two of the hosts from Bangladesh, or soon hosts, and from Cambodia here present with us. So we will have a panel discussion now. At the end, of course, you also have the chance to ask them some questions, but I would start with some questions first. Before that, though, let me introduce them to you and give some faces to the actual organizations. So on the very right, we have Sarah Monti from Cambodia, from the European Chamber of Commerce in Cambodia. She's an Italian qualified lawyer with more than 10 years of experience in M&A, international commercial law, and corporate law. She achieved a strong understanding of sustainability, and responsible business practices, acting as ESG consultant in Southeast Asia with specific expertise on sustainability and HREDD standards. She's based in Cambodia since 2020 and currently acting as Senior Responsible Business Hub Coordinator at the Eurocham. She's adjunct professor besides that of Business and Human Rights at the Royal University of Law and Economics in Phnom Penh. Then we have joining us from BKMEA, Mr. Shamim Ehsan, who is the Vice President of the Bangladesh Knitwear Manufacturers and Exporters Association, or short BKMEA. Mr. Shamim Ehsan is a dedicated board member of BKMEA, which is implementing many development activities in their member factories and supporting the workers' well-being under his leadership. Besides that, he's also the founder of Fatullah Apparels. And then last but not least, also from Bangladesh, we have Sheikh Mustafiz from BGMEA. He is the founder and managing director of Cute Dress Industry, and building on that extensive experience and expertise, he is currently serving as the chairman of the Standing Committee on Sustainability at the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association, or BGMEA. In this role, he leads the organization's efforts in promoting sustainability and the sustainable development goals within the garment industry, furthering their commitment to responsible and ethical practices. So thank you very much for being here once again. And I will, looking at the time, dive right into the questions, starting maybe with you, with Bangladesh BKMEA, Mr. Shamim Ehsan. So it would be great, I think, because not all of us are familiar here with your organization, if you could just briefly elaborate a bit on who your members are and also what your motivation is as an organization to host the RBH in Bangladesh and why you think it is important for your members.
Yeah, thank you all. First, I would like to introduce BKMEA, and those who don't know about it. This is the Association of the Knitwear Manufacturers and Exporters in Bangladesh. We only deal with the factories who are into knitwear business, and into export business, and not the national level, only the global level who manufacture for the exports market. Our organization is mainly deal with the government, like they are here for the mainly policy development issues, and if there is any members problem, or if on the business way, if they face any kind of trouble, then we negotiate on behalf of the members in it with the government or local agencies. So there's the BKMEA, and we have around 2,400 members, but mainly active members is around 900. Those who are exporting right now, balance are not in the business. So this is the introduction of BKMEA. And if you ask what is the motivation to establish RBH in BKMEA, because this is, I think it will be the burning issue in next couple of years. As you know that German due diligence law are already introduced, as he mentioned, and more Japanese guideline is coming, more European guideline is coming. French government already adopted a couple of years before. So these are very important issue for our suppliers on the global market. And yeah, it's true that there is nothing is new on the RBH, but it was not that much organized before in this way, because there was segmented in different way, like environmental issues, compliance issues, safety issues. But now these are more integrated. So we have to train our industries, we have to train our exporters how to deal with these issues when it comes. So that's why actually we established RBH unit in the associations, because it is very easy for them, for our members to interact with the association, because it's their own association rather than to go outside. So that is actually the motivation of establishing RBH in our BKMEA unit.
Great, thanks a lot for these insights, and also very interesting to hear that you say, yeah, it's a burning issue, not only, as we said, in the countries where the legislation is made, but also really in the producing countries themselves, and that you see the RBH as a way of organizing and addressing these issues in an organized manner. Then maybe staying in Bangladesh, but now moving to BGMEA. It would be interesting also to hear from your side, maybe what are the challenges the industry is facing in your country regarding due diligence? What can you see right now, what the challenges are maybe already, and also how the RBH could contribute to addressing those challenges?
Working for mainly for the knitwear, but in BGMEA, it is for all sorts of categories, like with woven, knitwear, and sweaters, so everything. But we, for example, we are also a member of each other. For example, I'm also a member of BKMEA. He is also a member of BGMEA, so we are actually working together. But I would like to tell you something about the challenges. Actually, what we are predicting, and also we have the experience that what we actually experienced before. First challenge, I think that the supply chain transparency. So that is what our main challenge is, that because as a tier 1 supplier, we have all kinds of audits. We are controlled by and monitored by the government, by the brands and everybody. But the problem is that when we are getting our raw material from the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers, we exactly don't have the traceability. We don't have the, we exactly don't know that their labor situation, their environmental situation, we don't know anything about that one. But the good news is that there are some ways, there are some mechanism is actually happening in the industry. For example, there are some traceability certifications, there are some audit processes going on. But it is still not all the brands they can actually onboard, because end of the day, everybody is looking for only for the price competition. So when you have the price competition, then we actually cannot ensure. I mean, when you talk about the supply chain in the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, then we actually cannot control them, because everybody is wanted to offer a cheaper price with compromising the people and planet. So that is the main challenge we have. And then secondly, it is difficult for us to ensure the labor rights, because in our tier 1 facility, we can ensure these labor rights because of the audits and controls from the government. But when we are going for the tier 2 and tier 3, the problem is that there are a lot of subcontractors, even within our supply chain. There are also a lot of accessories manufacturers. There are different kind of suppliers where the labor rights truly, they're in a vulnerable situation with their exploitation, and a lot of things are happening over there. And we don't have the the control mechanism within our system that whether we can how we can control this one. But it is also true that sometimes we are also looking for some cheaper, because we have to offer the cheaper to the brands, then we have to go for the cheaper version. And then we don't care sometimes that whether it is the environmental issue or the labor rights are taken care of or not. So that is the true scenario, what we are experiencing day by day. But when this law will come, and then definitely it has to come through a proper mechanism, then probably we can make sure that everything is actually coming in a good way. And then another challenge is the environmental sustainability. That is also another big challenge we are actually facing, because our supply chain, our tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, for example, if you go to Bangladesh, then you will see that all the tier 1 suppliers, we have the effluent treatment plant. But what about the tier 2 suppliers who are doing different kind of small dyeings and other things? They don't have the ETP or effluent treatment plant, that they're sending all the effluent to the river. You will find that all the rivers, the textile prone area, you will find that all the rivers are black, because not everybody is taking care of the river. And also, if you see the air quality index in Bangladesh, we have really a different situation. Also, the water situation also very different. Because if you go to Bangladesh, you can see that our air quality index is so bad. And we are one of the worst country in the world in terms of the air quality index, because it is not only the garment factory, but also other industries, construction industries and other agriculture industries, different kind of industries also impacting on those kind of pollution. So we really have different challenges also from the environment. And another big challenge we have the ethical sourcing. So ethical sourcing is very, very important. If the brands and also the consumers, if they don't think that they wanted to buy some really ethically made and environment friendly products, then it is really difficult for us to ensure these things. What happens end of the day? Everybody wants to have everything eco-friendly, like human right compliant, everything. But end of the day, nobody wants to pay for that one. So how we can, it's a big contrast we are dealing on a daily basis. And we are struggling internally among the suppliers, and also externally from Bangladesh to Myanmar, from the India, from our competitor countries. So they are also sometimes referring that I'm getting this T-shirt maybe in $2 from you, but someone is offering 1.5, someone is offering 1.1. So how I can ensure this environmental and also human rights due diligence? So it is also very important that the brand should think it as a responsible, shared responsibility. Then we can actually come forward and we can make the changes. So these are the challenges. And then I would like to talk about how this responsible business hub can operate in our facility. That first of all, our intention is to make this hub to make a collaboration and a knowledge sharing area, because we still know a lot of things, because Bangladesh is one of the we now name it that it's a safest country because of the one of the building collapse happened in some 10 years back, and then we actually remediated a lot. And now we can say that Bangladesh is one of the safest industry, especially in the RMG. But it is true that we with this due diligence law, we really have to go beyond. It is not enough now, so we have to go beyond. And not everybody in the industry know how far we should go. We have to go and how we can manage the whole situation. So we need to share the knowledge. We need to train them. We need to build the capacity, all the things. And also the training and capacity building of the employees and the staffs of the who are actually operating the whole industry. So we also have a plan how we will make the training session and how we will make this awareness session. That's kind of thing we'll do. And also we have a plan to make like a guideline and a standardization, because there are some controversies into the system that what kind of compliances we will do. Because if we, for example, a few minutes back, we are talking about that we have a problem with the social audits. One audit company is telling in a way, and another audit company is telling another way, because there is no special, even it is missing in our own level law. So there is a lot of things we need to adjust, and that is the thing that we will find out some standardized mechanism so that we can also train our members. So that is the thing what we will do. And also we will start monitoring and reporting. So that is also one of the service we wanted to provide from the service, from the hub. That is the reason we are actually going to introduce it's called a digital disclosure platform. That is one of the cloud-based system we are actually introducing in BGMEA, where we will get the data from the factories, and they will input the data, and all our stakeholders can see the aggregated data from the industry. So that will be, I think that will be a big paradigm shift. I must say that for all the stakeholders who are actually working with us, they can see what's happening in the garment industry. So that is the thing. And then definitely we will introduce like hotline with the email communication, and we have a dedicated person to reply our member services and this kind of thing. So this is what we are planning. And because we also wanted to hear from the experience from our Cambodian who are already operating these things. So also we wanted to learn from the German help desk that how you're operating. So from this learning process, then we will know that how more we can provide service to our members. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it is great to hear that despite all the challenges you named in the beginning, you still seem very optimistic and that you have a lot of ideas already in place. For example, for the issue of transparency, that you have that monitoring and reporting tool that you have envisioned and so on, and many tools, how the RBH could then actually, as you said, go beyond what is already there. Moving on to Cambodia now, and as we just heard, also the country that first implemented the hub and that maybe has already a bit more experience also on the ground already. Sarah, it would be great to hear from you what kind of changes you expect for producers in Cambodia with those emerging HREDD legislations coming into place, or also maybe already what you see right now in your work as RBH coordinator. For both, of course, the EU directive, the German directive, all sorts of legislations. Thank you very much.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for the question. First of all, I would say that all these new regulations, regardless the country of origin, regardless of where they are from, are a great incentive for Cambodia in this moment. Particularly, the country is now in its recovery path after the COVID-19, and is trying also to follow new trends at the global level and try to seize new opportunities as well in order to stay competitive in the global market. That's why in this particular moment, principles like modernization, diversification, and sustainability are the pillars for the Cambodian economy and its sustainable development. In terms of producers, because we are talking about a production country, I would say for sure that, factories and suppliers in Cambodia are facing new requirements in terms of compliance duties and tasks, especially when we talk about risk assessment and due diligence exercise. And I can say immediately that these new standards and these new requirements are often perceived with a feeling of frustration from the companies, from the factories, because they already have lots of audits per year. They already have compliance policies internally, maybe because required by their brands and headquarters. So what we need to make them understand, and that's why also the Responsible Business Hub has been created, is to support them and try to make them understand that, first of all, due diligence is not an audit. It's not a snapshot. It's not a tick in a box, but is an ongoing process, is a never-ending process, is a continuous assessment. And second, is not a duplication of efforts. So it's not a start from scratch. So it means that we need to help factories understand how to link the gap between what they already have and what they have to achieve according to the new regulations. So this is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing with Cambodian factories and suppliers. Generally, I would say that producers, in light of all these new regulations, will have a more active role in the implementation of sustainable strategies, internally, let's say, and they will have, let's say, a role of actors in the front line together with the brands and headquarters. So suppliers need to be more engaged, informed and involved, on a regular basis. For sure, we know that navigating this changing landscape of supply chain regulations, is critical for business as well. So we can also talk about the challenges for brands and, the top management teams that have suppliers in countries like Cambodia. So they will face a lot of challenges, like, how to map your supply chain properly and how to manage your supply chain in a sustainable way, and how you can map your supply chain in an effective way going beyond your direct suppliers. These are the main challenges that we have in this moment. And in light of this scenario, let's say, I truly believe that supporting entities, supporting tools like the Responsible Business Hubs are strategically necessary to optimize the performance of supply chains, under the lens of sustainability, for sure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for all this. A lot of great input, I think, and also good to hear that you really see the RBH as a tool, or whatever you want to name it, to really engage, inform, and involve suppliers from the very beginning, because that is also something that we've heard throughout the past sessions here, that this is a big issue, and that is a way of maybe dealing with that. And then maybe sticking with you, Sarah, because I think you, having operated already for a couple of months, and after that we can switch, of course, to audience questions, both online and here. Just maybe very briefly, where do you see the biggest gaps right now in fulfilling the requirements? You've already partially addressed that, but also which concrete tools and services do you have in mind to support them there? Then maybe just 2 minutes, and then we can switch to the audience. Thank you.
Okay, but as a Responsible Business Hub now, so we are receiving a lot of inquiries, mostly about what is the RBH and what kind of services we offer, and also lots of inquiries about the latest update of legislations, and so what's happening right now in Germany and in Europe and at the global level. So we're receiving lots of inquiries and lots of requests for advisory services. And so what we are seeing now is that there's a huge need of information and capacity building and training. And that's why, so our hub intends to offer all these kind of tools. We have, first of all, acknowledge platform on our website where we upload and share all the, relevant contents about legislative updates and publications, specifically at the moment focus on the garment industry. But because it's a sort of infant stage strategy, the fact that we look at the garment industry first, but of course, so we will be open to look at also other sectors in the future. And we promote events, networking sessions, and training programs for different targets of audience. So we offer training programs for brands and also for middle line managers and workers. And we provide lots of contents like, publications. As you can see at the entrance of the room, we brought today, some of our publications and sector brief about the garment sector in Cambodia, and we have some flyers describing a little bit in details. So what is the Responsible Business Hub? And we try, of course, to involve also the government on a regular basis in the dialogue. So we want to involve them to participate in our stakeholders consultation in order to decide our future strategies. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for keeping it brief. Then I would, in view of the time, like to open the floor to all of you. I already see a first hand, so feel free to open your microphone so also the people online can hear it. And then.
So I just have two quick questions. So the panel raised the possibility of the hubs facilitating learning. I was curious if the implementation challenges you've discussed in Bangladesh and Cambodia ever feed back into the regulatory strategies at the EU level, so that it's not just learning among the hubs, but whether the hubs' practical challenges inform regulatory strategies. And my second question is, in terms of the challenges of traceability in the supply chain, do you ever see tier ones consolidating with tier 2 and tier 3 to improve control and traceability?
Maybe I'd like to respond on the second one. I think we are still in the process, so I don't have any experience. But I wanted to. Second one is I can respond. Second one is that we also already have a built-in system in our supply chain. For example, if you wanted to go for a organic cotton made garment, for example. So there is a GOTS and OCS and different kind of certification process. And in that process, actually the tier 2, tier 3 suppliers are also can be enrolled, and they can be they can be registered through the process. So there are also auditors. So it is there. But the thing is that not all brands and even not all kinds of garment, especially with the different kind of countries, they are not looking for the same quality, same kind of certifications. So what I wanted to mean that the brands who are looking for certified products, then it is easy for us to find out a traceable way to our other suppliers. But those who are not looking for a certified product, then we don't have the traceability. We cannot offer them a traceable product, even though sometimes, for example, if I talk about my factory, even though they are not looking for a traceable one, I have to do it because I don't have any other choice, because my company philosophy and the way I'm operating, I still have to do it. So that is how it is going on. So it's still there, but not the percentage is still very low. But demand is growing. That I can tell you. Thank you.
First, maybe addressing the first question, and I think it would be suitable for you.
Many thanks for this question. Well, our law is effective since a few months only, so we won't redraft the law so quickly. But it is written in our law that we will do an evaluation in 26. And there we are going to evaluate several aspects. One is the effect on the companies in Germany to see if they are able to cope with the requirements. Second, we're also going to try to measure somehow the impact of legislation on the ground. And there we are also taking on board, of course, considering the points that our companies are facing now. What we do, second point, is we collect first experiences in implementation of due diligence legislation, and we feed it into the European process. There, for example, as I just said, purchasing practices we haven't considered so much and so closely in our German law is something we are stressing now very much on the European level, making sure that requirements in the European level are taking into account this, let's say, race to the bottom from our European companies towards their suppliers in producing countries. So we're looking at this very closely now. We haven't been so much aware of this when we did our national legislation process. So we are learning and we try to feed it in. And as I said in the beginning, we are going to evaluate also our national law, and then we also take into account all the experiences that we are learning so far.
Great, thanks a lot. Then maybe before having another question from here, is there anything in the chat to not forget the people joining online? Because you can, of course, also after the panel, always reach out to our panelists. Is this, okay, this is more so technical, right? Then I saw a hand over there, yes.
Hi, this is for the entire panel, but maybe in particular, Ms. Monti could answer. I'm curious to hear about how remedy functions within this discussion. So of course, human rights due diligence laws require you to investigate the supply chains, but also these legislations require companies as well to either offer operational level grievance mechanisms or to facilitate remedy in some way. And so I'm wondering how this shift has affected the companies you work with in Cambodia or indeed the factories in Bangladesh.
Yes, let's say that, according to my experience, basically, on the garment sector, and we are facing an industry with a certain level of readiness in terms of compliance and grievance mechanism. We can say that at the moment, one of the biggest challenge in Cambodia, especially, is not just having a grievance mechanism inside your operations in your company, but is to how to manage it in an efficient way, because there are a lot of trust issues among workers, and for sure they need to be addressed in order to be, in compliance with all the new regulations. So I can say that, so we are also working on that side, especially with our GIZ colleagues. And for sure, so internally, in terms of corporate strategy, I believe that communication channels should be improved and enhanced. So from the top of the management, from the headquarters, from the brands to the ground, absolutely. Because as I said before, so all the suppliers, all the actors of the supply chain are involved in front of the line.
Yes, thank you very much. And as Sarah said, we as BMZ, as GIZ, are very well aware of the importance of grievance. And besides this, as I called it in the beginning, pillar of responsible business hubs or support structures, more generally speaking, for suppliers, grievance is also one of our main pillars that we are working on in the countries. Maybe one last question here in the room, and then we unfortunately already have to close the session.
Thank you. I'm representing National Human Rights Institution, and my question is, because we're speaking about two specific countries, and do you cooperate with the National Human Rights Institution, and to what extent do you cooperate, and how you see the involvement of the National Human Rights Institution? And because once we are talking about the human rights due diligence.
Anyway, because we have only two representatives from the National Human Rights Commission here. Actually, we are starting this, right? It's very new. Actually, as she mentioned, Leah, that on Sunday we are going to establish this one, and we are on the process of one national action plan for the business human rights due diligence. So it's not yet started, but we already keep rolling the ball. So it's on the process. I know that in our South Asia, Pakistan is a country only who actually adopt this one before, but no other country. So we are on the process, and I don't know. We are not actually sure that who will actually lead the initiative. So if it is them, then we will have a much better cooperation with them, or we don't know, because there are a lot of stakeholders involved in these issues. So let's see who will lead this initiative in Bangladesh.
About Cambodia, so we are waiting for UN Human Rights Program entering the country next year.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the session time is coming to an end, so I feel very bad. I'm very happy to see all the hands up there, but maybe we could try to address the questions after the session with the panelists, and just allow me to have very, very quick closing remarks here. I think we've heard very well how, again, these legislations are not staying with the companies in Europe, in Germany, wherever, but they really do trickle down in one way or another to the producing countries and to the producers. And therefore, the question that, as I said, came up so many times already in the different sessions here of how to empower suppliers in the producing countries to fulfill these increasing demands is a very relevant one. And I like to see this optimism here in the panel, despite all the challenges that are definitely still there, that maybe the RBHs and this global network that we are currently creating with them can in one way contribute here. And I think hopefully is also, if we want to refer a bit to the title of this whole forum here, one first good move from commitment to actual action. So thanks again to all panelists, to all of you being here. I'm sorry that I had to cut it short, but as Sarah said, there's also some information material for the case of Cambodia there. The website, I think, was also shown in between of the different hubs, so you can find more information online. And of course, the panelists are also here and I hope ready to answer your questions. Thanks a lot. Also to the people online.